Hello and welcome to the Middle School Bookmarker Show. My name is Chris.
And I'm Brianna. We're teachers reading this middle school novel for the very first time. We hope you'll read it along with us and then listen to our conversation about it.
This week we're covering Schooled by Gordon Korman, and we're going to be reading Chapter 1. So if you haven't read Chapter 1, you should probably go do that now.
Oh, and by the way, we're going to get this whole show wrapped up in just 11 minutes because 11 minutes is all you need
to drive your plum-picking grandmother to the hospital, even though you're 13 and you don't have a driver's license. And that's pretty much how this book kicks off. We start off on after our main character, Capricorn, gets arrested, it flashes back to the immediate scene beforehand where they were at this community called Garland, which is a commune. A commune is kind of described commonly as a hippie community where people come together and there's usually a lot of gardening, sharing of resources, a lot of taking care of each other as opposed to being independent, that kind of mindset.
Right, and so what we see in the beginning when this flashes back and we see Capricorn, he's taken care of by his grandmother, who actually goes by the name Rain. And the reason that they have to go to the hospital is because she falls out of a tree and actually breaks her hip, right?
And what's incredible is she's 68 and she's in this tree. So it's expected that if she falls out of it, yeah, she's probably going to break her hip.
And it's really interesting that we see Capricorn, who he's only 13, right? Yeah, he's 13 years old. And he drove his grandmother to the hospital. So clearly he doesn't have a driver's license. I mean, I can't even imagine at 13 me getting behind the wheel of a car.
And when the story starts off, Capricorn is actually in handcuffs because a cop arrested him for driving without a license and then starts peppering him with questions. One of the main ones was, why didn't you call 911 when your grandmother tried to get you to drive a car? And his response was, well, I don't even know what 911 is. I can't imagine that. Beyond being 13 and thinking about driving a car, can you imagine being 13 and not knowing what 911 is?
No, I mean, that's probably the first or second phone number I learned after my home phone number, you know? Being a kid. And he doesn't even have a telephone at home. He's only used one once or twice at a place where he was out somewhere.
And I think that's pretty common for commune type communities. They try to limit the amount of technology that's there because they feel that technology kind of takes away from the things you should be focusing on in life, which there might be some wisdom to that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And we said that he's in this commune with his grandmother, but where are the parents?
I think we find out later in the chapter, unfortunately, that his parents have passed away. Capricorn's parents have passed away. There's a Rain's son or daughter. I actually don't know which one she's the parent of. But they were working in the Peace Corps, which is an organization that will go and volunteer for long periods of time to go help usually the poorest areas of the world. So they might help with trying to build infrastructure or get them access to water or help government. But there's a whole bunch of reasons that people would go to the most desperate parts of the world and volunteer a lot of their time and lives to help these people out. Unfortunately, Capricorn's parents seems to have passed away in Namibia when they were in the Peace Corps.
Mm-hmm. And wasn't that as a result of malaria?
Yes, which is a mosquito-borne illness, and it kills a lot of people. It's a disease. It's a disease that's passed by mosquitoes, and you don't know which mosquito has it or doesn't. And it's very preventable, but once you get it, you're kind of in trouble. Let's hop back to the doctor thing real quick. So he didn't know 911, but there was a doctor that they give a call to whenever there were issues, but it's not a normal doctor.
Right. It's their neighbor is actually a veterinarian who, if you don't know what a veterinarian is, basically they care for animals. So they usually call an animal doctor, a vet, to look at them when they are injured, but the grandmother, Rain, tells Capricorn, no, we need a real doctor this time, which is why they have to actually go to a hospital, which it sounds like they've never really been to one before, or at least not that they're letting us know of.
And I think that that's pretty common, again, for communes, is staying away from the outside world. I don't know if it's common for communes, though, to use veterinarians as their primary healthcare providers. I think that's pretty weird. All right, so we're about halfway through, Brianna. I wanted to bring up some English class stuff. Maybe we'll do this once per episode. And we're going to keep it pretty simple this time. The English class stuff is just going to be a vocab word. It's a word that stuck out to me, and it was the word tremulous. So tremulous means to kind of be nervous and shaky. So I thought of two different examples that kind of will help us remember tremulous. I thought of kind of like picking up a really scared hamster. I'm sure everyone's held a hamster or a mouse or a gerbil or something in your hands, and it's just quivering, and you could tell it's probably so scared of you because you're so much bigger than it. Well, you might say that hamster is tremulous. Another example, I think of like in a video game where maybe you're a bomb squad police officer and you need to cut the wires and you need to cut the right wires, otherwise the bomb's going to explode. Well, that person that's cutting the wires, I would bet that they are tremulous. They're probably shaking nervously as they are going to cut those wires.
Absolutely. Those are both really great examples of that word.
I got one more thing I wanted to bring up, and it was something that they said was kind of the motto of the commune, Garland's commune, and that was the way that they approach problems. Talk it out, think it out, and work it out. Capricorn says that he has been told this by his grandmother pretty much since he was a kid and uses that as a way to kind of solve problems. I absolutely love this. Talking out your problems, critically thinking about them and thinking about all the options, and then being able to actually work it out, like do the work to fix it. It's a roadmap. It's a blueprint to solving a whole bunch of problems, or at least making your best approach to solve problems.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And I think it kind of leads into the fact that the grandmother considers him an equal person to her, despite the fact that he's 13. He always gets an equal vote in decisions that they have to make. And I think a lot of it comes from that responsible, talk it out, work it out, and just doing it. And so it really gives them, or any kids who learn that, the tools they need to make responsible decisions.
So I bet that comes up again. Usually when authors drop stuff like that in the early chapters, the exposition, it ends up becoming something that's important later in the book. So my reader spider senses were going off when I heard that line.
Yes, mine too. And I think going off that, we can kind of lead into some predictions maybe about what we think is going to happen in the upcoming chapters. I know that for me, I'm very curious because towards the end of the chapter, we find out that Rain, the grandmother, has to go into rehab for, I think it's at least 8 weeks. And because there are no parents, Capricorn doesn't really have anywhere else to go. So he ends up, the chapter leaves off with us knowing that he's going to end up somehow in foster care.
Which means the government's going to step in and they're going to kind of tell him who his parents are, who's going to be his guardian for a short amount of time. Yeah, I have a prediction also. I have two, but I have one that's kind of a bigger, crazier, long-term prediction, and it's relating to Capricorn's parents. I am making a blind guess that Capricorn's parents either are not dead or that they didn't die in the way that Rain said. That could be wrong, but it is just my long-term guess. Being a reader who's read these kind of books before, I'm kind of keeping my eye on that. The other prediction I have has to do with looking at the cover of the book. One of the most common book covers, and the one that I have, is a yellow cover with a school bus and a giant peace sign in the background. And in the windows of the school bus, we see tie-dye. So tie-dye is really colorful, rainbow colors. It's definitely connected to kind of being like a hippie. The police officer called the people that lived at the communes hippies. And so I'm predicting that there's going to be this kind of like smash between traditional school that we're used to and maybe the education that Capricorn got on the commune. And that's why the book is called Schooled.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see Capricorn navigating a public school life because his grandmother says that she doesn't really approve of the way the public school system is run. So that's why she homeschools him so uniquely. And so I think we're definitely going to run into some differences there. And maybe not only is Capricorn going to be schooled in a new way of learning things, but the people at the school will be learning about his way of life as well.
Everybody's getting schooled. All right, so we have about a minute left. Let's wrap this baby up. First thing, if you are listening, I want you to record this. Your secret word for this first episode is plums. You'll find out later what you're supposed to do with that. Second thing is, if you are enjoying this episode, we want you to hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Next time, we're going to be doing chapters 2 and 3. So if you're keeping up with us, which we really hope you are, we think this is a fun way to enjoy a book and a light way to learn some English class stuff. then pick it up. We're going to be doing chapters 2 and 3 next episode. You got anything else?
Just that I'm looking forward to reading the next chapters and talking about them.
I am looking forward to getting schooled. All right, guys, we will see you next episode.